I want that one. I don't understand why you're taking it. Or are you just playing games? It's in the Mishnah? Interesting. Which Mishnah?
You can never find it. Like, he knows it's there, but you can never find it, right?
If we have to.
Do you want to slow walk faster?
Well, I mean, oh, good. There we go.
170.
אשרי שבתך עוד יעללוך סלע אשר יחלו שמע אלוה תהילה לדוד תהילת ה' ידבר פיו ויברך בצע שקודשו לעולם ועד ואנחנו נברך ים מעתה ועד עולם הללויה. How many? That's a big number. יבדחו בך את שמך, גלה זאת ראשך, אדוני, אדוני רב למציקו, יגדיל תורה וידיר, גדל ויקדש מרבה, ועלמר יברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ויומכון, ובחייכו בית ישראל, בעגליו זמן קריב, אמרו אמן, יהא שמרבה, מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתומה וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה ברכו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה השבחתה ורחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון ולמרוב חסדך הנני באמת אישך ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה והנוסו מסעך מפתח כי ציון תצא תורה כי ציון תצא תורה דבר אדוני בירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה זורה ברוך שנתן תורה
והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי כל בשמיים ובארץ כי כל בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והמינה לכל לראש רוממו
והשתחוו להדור רגליו קדושו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
We are on Parashat Bitzorah. which is in the back of the weekday Siddur on page 291. It's Leviticus 14, verse 1. Page 291 in the Siddur.
ותגלה ותראה מלכותו עלינו בזמן קרוב, ויחום פרידתנו ובריתנו בבית ישראל, לכנו לחסד ולרחמים ורצון ונאמר אמן. הכל הבוגוד אלוהינו נכבה לתורה יעמוד דוד אליעזר בן יצחק ישעיהו בדבר פסיה לעלייה הראשונה ברוך שנתן תורה עמו ישראל תקריא קדושתו ואתם מדביקים בלכם חיים כולכם היום.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור זאת תהיה תורת המצורע ביום טהרתו והובא אל הכהן ויצא הכהן אל מחוץ למחנה וראה הכהן והנה נרפא נגע הצרת מן הצרוע וציווה הכהן ולקח למטהר שתי ציפורים חיות טהורות ויצרז ושני תולעת ואזוב וציווה הכהן ושחט את הציפור האחת אל כלי חרס על מים חיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. תעמוד שושן בת ישראל וחי דרשה ועלייה השנית. We continue the action with the bird. Page 291.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach. Baruch Adonai hamvarach li'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
אמן. את הציפור החיה ייקח אותה ואת עץ הארז ואת שני התולעת ואת האזוב וטבל אותם ואת הציפור החיה בדם הציפור השחוטה על המים החיים ויזה על המטהר מן הצרת 7 פעמים וטיהרו ושילח את הציפור החיה על פני השדה וכיבס המטהר את בגדיו וגילח את כל שערו ורחץ במים וטהר ואחר יבוא אל המחנה וישב מחוץ לאוהלו 7 ימים והיה ביום השביעי יגלח את כל שערו את ראשו ואת זגנו ואת גבות עיניו ואת כל שערו יגלח וכיבס בגדיו ורחץ את בשרו במים וטהר.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yamod. David Peretz Ben Kamen Helevi Vechana la'aliyah hashlishi.
Baruch hu Adonai Baruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
אמן. וביום השמיני ייקח 2 כבשים תמימים וכבשה אחת בת שנתה תמימה ו3 עשרונים סולת מנחה בלולה ושמן ולוג אחד שמן והעמיד הכהן המטהר את האיש המטהר ואותם לפני אדוני פתח אוהל מועד ולקח הכהן את הכבש האחד והקריב אותו לאשם ואת לוג השמן והניף אותם תנופה לפני אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Yamdu
It's nice to get a new wardrobe.
Okay, what a team.
Have you worked together before?
On a few projects.
There's always the first time.
Vezot HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Eitz chayim hi l'machazikim ba'elokei ha'merushar. Eitz chayim hi l'machazikim ba'elokei ha'merushar. Notivoteha shalom, derafeha darkei noam, vechon notivoteha shalom. Ay ay ay, yanai 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 yanai, yanai 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 yanai, yanai 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 yanai.
הרחמים שוכם אמרומים, אמצא מלוכה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, ומעלו קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מצהירים את נשמות. Esther Abrams, Jerry Schneid, Louis Rabinowitz, Martin Elovicki, Joseph Goldman, and Ruth Wolf. Anyone else? Memorial prayer? Okay. Right. שהלכו לעולמם בגן עדן מנוחתם אנא בר הרחמים הסתיריהם וסגנפיך ליולמים וצבא בצורך הימיני שמותיהם אדוני ונחלתם וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם ונאמר אמן.
Let's do Avinu, or
Yeah.
do you want to do? Yeah, let's do Avinu.
Okay.
We'll do Avinu Shabashamayim now, in response to the news that we've been hearing echoing in this day, and our hopes that
Maybe also
in Safa,
prayer for the
in our hopes that the alliance of the United States and Israel will defeat quickly the horror and the tyranny of Iran, and that as few are hurt or damaged or killed in this as possible.
מי שברך בדין אברהם יצחק ויעקב יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל ואנשי כוחות הביטחון העומדים על משמרתם בערי אלוהינו מגבול הלבנון ומדבר מצרים ומהים הגדול עד בור הבא בכל מקום שהם ביבשה באוויר ובים ייתן אדוני תועבינו הקמים עלינו נגפים לפניהם הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה פסוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם יתרם מחילת ישועה וחתרת ניצחון ויקוים בהם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר אמן. אבינו שבשמיים צור ישראל וגואלו ברך את מדינת ישראל ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו הגן עליה בעברת חסדך ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה שריה ויועציה ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך חזק את ידי מגני ארץ קודשנו והנחיליהם אלוהינו ישועה ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם ליושביה ונאמר אמן. יהללו את שם אדוני כי נזכר שמו לשמיים וירם תהילה לכל חסידיו לבני ישראל עם טרור הללויה הללויה. יגדל ויקדש מרבה בעלמא יברח חירותה וימליך מלכותה בחייכון וביומכון ובחייך בית ישראל בגליו ומכרי ואמרו אמן יהי שמרבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עולמיה יברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לילה מקום ברכתה ושירתה שברכתה ונחמתה דמירה מעלמה ויאמרו אמן. Okay.
We're going to have a few moments for silent Havdalah, 178 to 185.
עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ברי אבותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל אלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא העליון גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחי מתים אתה הרב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד מחי מתים מלחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר מחמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך מלך אמת ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נקדש לך בעולם כשם שמרי שמותו בשם ארון ככתוב על יד אביך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו ליומתם, ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. אתה אחד בשמך אחד, ומקיימך ישראל, ומקיימך עמך ישראל, גויך בארץ, תפארת גדולה ועטרת ישועה, יום מנוחה וקדושה לעמך נתת, יום מנוחה וקדושה לעמך נתת, אברהם יגל יצחק ירנן, יעקב ובניו ינוחו בו, יעקב ובניו ינוחו בו, מנוחת אהבה ונדבה, מנוחת אמת ואמונה, מנוחת שלום ושלווה, וישקט בבטח, מנוחה שלמה שאתה רוצה בה, יכירו בניך וידעו, כי מאיתך היא מנוחתם, ועל מנוחתם יקדישו את שמך. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו בדובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, ותעל ליבנו לעובדך בהמר, וינחילנו אדוני אלוהינו ביבוא רצון שבת קודשך, ואנוכו בישראל מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ובתפילתם, וישב את עבודה לדביר ביתך, ותפילתם יעבד קבל ברצון, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון רחמים, ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון, מודים אנחנו לך שאתה אדוני ויודך הטוב כי לא חד רחמך, וימרחם כי לא תמך חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך, ויעקולם יתברך ויתרומם, שמך מגנו תמיד לעולם ועד, וכל החיים יודוך סלע, ויעללו את שמך באמת, האל ישועתנו ודתנו סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך הולך נאה להודות, שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. יגדל ויקדש מרבה, וילמד דברי חירותי וימלך מלכותי וחייכון ומכון וחיי תכבד ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, ויעלם עולם מעולמה יתברך, יברך וישתבח וירפר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו, לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה שברתה ורחמתה דמרה בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תקבל צלותנו ואותנו כל ישראל, קדם עוון ושמעיה ואמרו אמן. ישלום רב משמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום יברומך ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. כי המלכות שלנו ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה משמיא, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. כל עוד בלב ופנימה, נפש יהודי הומיה, ולפתי מזרח קדימה, לציון צופיה. אור אלוהיו תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים.
Do you want to stay in here, or do you want to go to the lifelong learning?
I think we're just staying here.
We can stay in here. Just, we don't have the refrigerator and drinks. But that's okay. So, of course, hearing the news of the day distracts from what is normally for us a relaxed and even like joyous kind of gathering of camaraderie and joking sometimes, but also of davening. And in Mishnah Brachot, it teaches us that if we are returning home to our city, and in this day and in the day and age of the Mishnah, a city is a small walled place where you're going through the gate and you see that there's smoke from a fire, that we are not allowed to pray that it not be our house, because it's already happened, right? It's already happening, and we can't pray in a way that would suggest that we can change the course of events, right? That we can have some sort of supernatural intervention based on our prayer, and also, of course, that would also be wishing that it happened to someone else, which is a second problem. And so we're in this limbo right now of not knowing what's happening in detail and what's going to happen for sure. We're in the place of I guess, walking from the gate to our house in that no man's land of not knowing. And we have to find a way to be present in that space right now. And while we won't answer that with levity, we can try to answer it a little bit with Torah. It's always appropriate to study, and it's always appropriate to engage in Torah. My first thought is the coincidence, perhaps, that we are reading Parshat Metzora right now, right, which is about infection, and sometimes about the miraculous lifting of that infection in a way that the people don't understand. In many ways, because of propaganda and because of lazy thinking and because of a proclivity, kind of an ease that so many people in the world have to blame the Jews or to blame Israel. You know, Israel as a nation has become, and through no fault of its own, well, we won't talk about the government, but in the big picture, no fault of its own, has become like the leper, so to speak. Not that Metzora is leprosy, but has become the infected one in the world of nations. So, hopefully, the nations of the world will recognize their shallowness and their folly and will do what's right and be on the side of good. I don't know what else to say about that yet, or right now. But if we could turn to pace, if anyone wants to comment or to say something, we certainly can. So I don't want to cut it off. If anybody has something or has a question or has something they're thinking about or want to share, please feel free. El Narafana? We do. We need to heal.
My kids are due to leave on Wednesday, and so thousands of people going into and out the
For Pesach, yeah? Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I can't understand, maybe I'm just immature, how a country like Iran can just go ahead and send 400 or 500 ballistic missiles, drones, without a thought. In today's world, it just is inconceivable to me.
I think you're correct that it was without a thought for the people of Israel, whether they're Jews, Muslims, Christians, or anything. And there's no happier, right? But they certainly gave a lot of thought to what they did, right? It's strategic and it's intentional in a way that's devious and really evil. But you're right, they gave no thought to anyone else in that area. Even the lives of Palestinians, they say that they are fighting to protect.
Question I asked Rabbi as we walked in is, how does the Western world allow I won't even call it Iran, the Islamic regime, to run that country and do what they've done around the world? The millions of people that they're responsible for harming and killing and displacing, and
think the Shah was a strong force in the, in the Middle East. He kept everybody in tow. Being Iraq, being other countries, they had a war with Iraq. I wasn't there when they had the war, but I know that at the time, like he was keeping everybody in their place. And it was like a domino. When the Shah fell, or was replaced, and United States, England, everybody was behind overthrowing the Shah. Because, and I think it's shameful, that's what I think, but I'm just telling you because of the oil and because if you remember it was, the lines that were, and the Shah had decided that he wants to, why should I give away the oil, let's say, like at a low price, so suddenly OPEC, raised the prices. And he didn't like it, United States or England. And I always say, when I was in Iran, BP, we thought of BP as benzene Pars. Pars is Iran,
Yeah.
benzene is oil. But BP was
Benzene.
British Petroleum.
Yeah.
But the oil belonged to Iran, but it was British Petroleum.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that we were fooled, maybe. But when I lived in Iran, it was a good country for the Jews and for everybody else. And I think everybody thought that when the Shah goes, Ayatollah Khomeini is going to be there for 6 months, and there's going to be a puppet government, and it didn't happen.
No.
And they got stronger, and then I think now they have Russia and all the other
China.
strong countries behind them. So that's how they become so bold. The Shah was trying to make Iran modernize. The Ayatollah and the Muslims think that they are going to take over the world. It's their mission statement. That the world will be Muslim.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, Iranians are Shiites, and the other Muslims are Sunnis. And the Shiites weren't that, the number-wise, Sunnis, there were a lot more Sunnis than Shiites. But the Shiites are the ones who are Ayatollah, and they have their 12 imams, and they have their,
Now,
fanatics.
I think, is this the first time that Iran has directly attacked Israel? Like, I think it is, right?
Iran, the Shah and Israel, they
Oh, no, the Shah and Iran were.
relationship, and the Shah
But since 1979, it's the first time, I think. And so, from my understanding, the Shia, before like 1964 or something like that in the 60s, had a theology of waiting for redemption. Waiting for redemption, right? Because the Shia are followers of the, is it the 9th or the 10th caliph after the 12th, after Muhammad, who was murdered and supposedly will return, but they've been waiting, and that's when the Sunni took over, right? And so they've been kind of the kind of the second class Muslim in the Muslim world, and there was a kind of a revolt in the 60s of theology where they said no longer, we're going, basically, and Khomeini was one of the leaders of this, was we are going to now be aggressive. And that's what has led to to so much instability and destruction in the Middle East.
In the 1950s, there's a background. In 1952, Shah had a prime minister that was more socialist. And United States was the one who, and the Shah left Iran for a couple of months, I guess, and United States was behind the Shah to bring him back. and then when I was growing up, there was they called it the Green Revolution. And the Green Revolution, Shah was trying to make the Iran more modernized.
Western, yeah.
And in a way, he took away the power of the mullahs. The mullahs didn't like it. And they were waiting. And apparently, I don't know for 100%, but Khomeini's son was killed. And Khomeini, went to France. And he was in France waiting, and then he had his. And when the government, everybody thought that if the Shah goes, they're going to be in power, which didn't happen. I mean, and nobody thought that the religious section is going to become so strong. You have all these enemies, and each of them are thinking that, oh, if the Shah goes, I will be in power. I will be in power. I will be. And he was the one who was the strongest. And it was a shame.
It's time to take them out.
It's not
It's not,
surprising.
he is.
Yeah.
Americans to go in there and clean house.
Well, yeah, I think, I feel that way too.
You already did it once, or more than once.
Maybe this will be the impetus.
But,
It's not
Arnie?
surprising that Iran has never attacked Israel directly until now, for one reason: they didn't have the capability.
They didn't have
They did not. If they had the capability before, they would have done it before.
yeah.
And now with technology and the drones that they've developed, and aiding the Russians in Ukraine,
But they have the power over Russia and China now.
I think whatever capability they have, America is way superior in military power.
Well, they said they were shooting, the Americans were shooting the drones and the missiles down as they were coming,
Yeah.
but they didn't know that if how much the Iron Dome can deal with.
Yeah.
And they thought that this is what I just heard.
And they also have the Arrow, which has been having some success taking down the missiles.
They think they're going,
Yeah.
they're aiming towards Israeli military bases.
Yeah. But
Obviously.
this is also, I think, I was just going to raise to our consciousness that we also have to always remember the famous law of unintended consequences, right? That Iran is in this position because we went into Iraq and we took out basically Iran's one check on their aggression and on their power in taking out Saddam Hussein and creating that mess in Iraq, which freed them to do whatever they wanted without any kind of threat. So I certainly feel in this moment like, yes, let's go in and do that. But it's always,
the Iranians are playing a calculated game of chess.
Yeah.
And the fact that they sent drones over with so much notice was sort of maybe a paper tiger type of approach, knowing that they could tell their people they launched a massive assault of 400 or 500 drones, and the damage will be made up by them, so they're trying to protect their own image. If they had started with ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, that would have been much more
a different thing.
so the Israelis are trying, with the Americans' help, I wish there were more people helping than just the Americans, are trying to shoot down the drones not over Israel, but over Jordan and Iraq. And Jordan will also, Jordan will attempt to shoot them down. It's a violation of their airspace. You just can't have missiles flying
No.
over your airspace if you can help it.
Mm-hmm.
The reports that I've followed a number of different reports, where it was a little over 100 drones. The drones fly at 100 and some odd miles an hour. So, talking about taking them 10 hours to get to Israel, having to fly over Iraq. There was reports of a couple of cruise missiles that were not confirmed. But to date, nothing's gotten through.
Okay. So we'll see.
And Iran released
Well, the UN standing up to Iran is like the Red Cross standing up to the Nazis. Yeah, no. They're being used, yeah. No. Exactly, I mean, they're,
And the Israeli spokesperson was wonderful on the news when asked about the UN condemning the Israeli attack on Syria and in Damascus. And he said, we'll talk about that after we talk about the UN's condemning the rockets that have been flying into Israel.
amen. Okay, well, let's do a few minutes of Torah, if that's okay. If we have to. Yeah.
Before you do that on the light rail,
45 years, how long can you wait?
Yeah?
I went back and I looked at Tezria,
Yes.
and I decided to read it in the Septuagint.
In the what? In the Septuagint.
And it
You know
said-
Greek?
And it said that they put Windex on it.
Oh. I thought it was Mr. Clean. No.
The movie,
Yeah, Mike,
and whatever it was,
Yeah.
he sprayed Windex on it.
No, Mr. Clean because he's bald. Never mind. A bad Torah joke. Okay, so here's the question. We're getting ready for Pesach. And in the lead up in the Mishnah to the 4 questions, so in case you don't know already, the 4 questions are actually in the Mishnah. And, in fact, one of the questions of the 4 that are in the Mishnah shows us that the 4 questions are very ancient because one of them is about observing the sacrifice in the temple, which makes it seem like the 4 questions are actually from the time of the temple being existent and the center part of worship, right? So in the lead up to the 4 questions, the Mishnah says, Mazgu lo kos sheni. Right, so this is during the Seder, and we've done some things already, and they mix and pour the second cup. V'kan haben shoel aviv. And here, the son is going to ask the father. V'im ein da'at baben, and if the son doesn't have the ability, aviv melamdo, the father will teach him. Right? So, why, or what, either why or what is it about the pouring of the second cup that is supposed to cause the son, or in our day daughter, to ask a question, or to ask multiple questions? So, David, say more. On every other night, you have 1 cup of wine, but here you're having 2?
Yeah, already, so that might raise them. That might raise a question.
You mean,
Not the question they ask in the,
there was a temperance movement, and you were only allowed a cup, or what do you mean?
it seemed very, maybe because it seemed formal. Like, hey, normally we drink, but now it says in the Torah, pour a second cup, or the Mishnah.
In the Mishnah, you pour the second cup. That's, any other answers or ideas? Maybe the kid's drunk, okay. Maybe that's what it means by im ein lo dat. Means it doesn't mean he doesn't know, it means he can't hold his liquor. No. Okay, that's another possibility. We've got 2 possibilities so far. Any other thoughts?
Passing down the tradition.
Well, that's why we do it, right? But what is spurring the son, supposedly here, to ask a question? Something's happening that's out of the ordinary. I think David number one, primary David here, in this case, because he spoke first, is onto it. Why is it irregular in this night to pour a second cup when they pour the second cup? What normally would have happened after the first cup? Well, what do you do with the first cup at Seder? Let's think about that. At Seder, what do we do with the first cup? Right, we make Kiddush. So what do we normally do after we make Kiddush? Well, you drink the wine and you make motzi, right? So I don't know if they were washing at that point or not, but you would make motzi and you would eat, right? But here, they haven't eaten the meal, right? We haven't eaten yet. So they have the first cup, and then they're already pouring the second cup. And so the son is supposed to ask. I'm kind of lifting this from a teaching from Dina Weiss from Hadar, the Hadar Institute in New York. And what is also curious about the four questions? We ask these four questions.
I think it's that we do it before actually, that when we pour the second, between the time that we pour the wine
Yeah.
and drink it, then we do all the,
Magid.
cleaning and everything.
Mhm.
So when you pour the wine, you haven't done
Yeah, it's right away, right?
all the things that you are.
Yeah, so you're standing, you're saying Kiddush, everyone drinks, and and then you fill the cup again before you do anything else. So it's a little irregular, right? But think about the four questions. We ask a question. Do we ever answer the question?
No, and they're not really questions.
They're more like,
Exclamation.
they're more exclamations, right?
How different this night is from all other nights,
Mhm.
even though we don't really translate it correctly.
Exactly, right? So we translate it as the four questions, but it's really the four exclamations. And we never actually answer them.
We always did. Someone always answered them.
Hmm?
At our savings.
How do you answer them?
Four questions?
No, how do you answer them? In the Haggadah. I'm just talking about the text of the Haggadah.
No, it wasn't in the Haggadah. Someone at the table responded to the question.
They're rhetorical statements from the questions.
Yeah, like they're
Are they questions?
exclamative rhetorical observations of the observing child.
That's explained by seeing the person at the table.
Hmm?
Someone at his table explains the answers. He's saying in his tradition, someone at his table explains.
Yes. Oh, okay. So it's the tradition, right, would be that people at the table would answer the question, right? Actually, I got a question at the Kiddush today, which is on the same line, which is, why doesn't the Haggadah tell the story of the Exodus? It has all these different teachings from rabbis and, kind of refers to it in different ways, but doesn't actually tell the story.
A lot of the Haggadah text is from the Gemara, right? From the Talmud, which
Well, before the Talmud, Midrash, it's Mishnah and Midrash. Yeah.
just to reinforce that question makes it quite monotonous, which understanding to that question. Why would we tell a story as opposed to reading, how many Mako equal this many, how many?
Also, as part of that observation,
Yeah.
Moses is not mentioned in our Bible,
Yeah.
having been the most important figure in the Exodus,
Moshe has left the building,
not mentioned at all.
right? So So I think it's, I mean, I don't, I would assume, or I'm guessing, it is intentional, obviously. I mean, to not mention Moses is intentional. To not tell the story in the Haggadah is intentional, right? So what is the assumption behind that intention, or those intentions? Like, do the rabbis think we're not going to tell the story and we're not going to talk about Moses?
I always thought that Moses is not supposed to be a hero.
They were brought to be the hero.
If
So let's say that God is the hero, then why not tell the story of the Exodus, where God is clearly
well, no,
the
I'm
hero?
responding to your, Moses,
Oh, right,
I think
yeah.
that he wasn't,
Well, we don't have to, like, make him the hero, but we should give him a mention. But, right, so do we think that the rabbis wanted us to mention Moses, wanted us to tell the story?
They say tell the story, they say whoever elaborates on the story, already said the Shuvah,
Mhm.
has to be praised.
Right? So,
Clearly, we're supposed to be filling in some of the blanks.
so we're supposed to be filling in the blanks. So I think the answer I had while standing on one foot and holding a bagel at Kiddush was exactly like in that line, right? Which is, if all the Haggadah did was take text from Shemot, from Exodus, and digest it somehow and make it into a script that we read, it would get pretty flat and boring. And there would be no space for innovation. There would be no space for us to own it and tell the story in our way. We would not have, I mean, if you think about how many Haggadahs how many Haggadot have been published just in the past 20 years, just one volume of each one, right? We could like fill a significant portion of this room. Each one telling it from a slightly different perspective, adding different things, right? And so I think it's like intentional that it gives us all these other things that are leading us to tell the story, but also then to comment on it in our own way as we make sense of the comments of the rabbi. So the assumption that I think they have in not having it there or not mentioning Moses is that we will be engaged with the story ourselves, so that we will then tell it to our children as if it's ours.
However, it leaves a lot of room to get the story wrong.
Oh, it does leave a lot of room to get the story wrong.
When people are leading a Seder and they're not learning, and now they're left with
Mhm.
their own device to tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know that well.
Yeah.
Or they heard parts of it, but now they're putting it together and you get a broken telephone.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, that happens in two different ways, right? One, it reminds me of a story from Rabbi Eliezer Diamond, one of our rabbis at JTS, who went to the Soviet Union as a shaliach back in like the 70s. And he went to a community, he told us about going to a community, and they were going to get ready to celebrate Passover. But all they had was a copy of the Megillah. The Megillah. That's all they had. That was their book. Because they weren't allowed anything else, and they hadn't gotten anything else yet. And so they read the Megillah, because that's all they had, right? Megillat Esther, yeah. Because that's all they had. No, it was for Passover. They knew it was Passover, but the only Judaic text they had was the Megillah. So that was their text. That's the only thing they could use. And they didn't know the story because Stalin did such a good job of wiping that out. So when we're in a place of oppression, right? Yeah, but so often it happens because of ignorance or not caring, which is a different side. And it reminds me of when I moved to New York after college, and I was working for John Wiley and Sons, the publisher, for one of the engineering editors. So probably, I don't know if the job even exists anymore, but my job basically was to call various university professors that were on a list and ask them to review a textbook for, a certain fee. And then keep track of the reviews coming in, that kind of thing, right? And one of the issues in engineering, especially like in the big classes like civil engineering and dynamics and all those things, is they're not, the text itself hasn't changed. It's physics, it hasn't changed. Why, the text hasn't changed, but nevertheless, the big universities will switch their text every 3 years. They will use one for 3 years, then they'll adopt another one for 3 years, because what they're having the students buy the text for is for the problem set in the back. And if they use it for more than 3 years, so what they'll do is they'll do like the first problems, the second problems, and the third problems, and then they've used all of them, so they're done. And the fraternities and different groups will like gather, the answers so that people can cheat on it. And I called one of the professors I had to call for a review was at not MIT, but out in California, Cal Poly, right? Which is like, MIT is like high, quality school. And they don't do that there. Their attitude is that they just use the book they want to use. So I was curious. I said, tell me, like all these other schools I'm calling, Kansas, all these huge engineering schools, they're all switching. Why don't you switch? He said, well, the students are paying, I don't know, at that time it was like $20-something thousand a year to come here. If they don't want to learn anything, that's really their problem, not mine. Right? And they're like, we're at a high level. Like, if you're coming here to not learn, that's on you. And maybe in a sense, the Haggadah is like that in a way, which is saying, you got to be invested. You have to have the background material a little bit. And that's not a high bar. To know the story is not like it takes a whole lot. It just takes reading the book of Shemot, and let's say some of Bereshit too. But I don't know, maybe that's part of it too, is they're saying, up your game, everybody.
Well, I think maybe the people, and maybe they already do feel this way, but I think people who lead the Seder need to feel empowered to kind of read the room, and you're not, if people are not responding to every word in the Haggadah, then maybe move around a little bit, you talk about something maybe more, that I think what you're.
Yeah.
It could lead to a bad experience if someone's not feeling comfortable.
Well, for sure, but it also gives you the freedom, right, to be flexible.
What's the answer for the second cup?
Oh, so the answer is that the cup is poured, whereas like on any other holiday or Shabbats, you'd pour the first cup, you'd say Kiddush, and it would be time for, as Rabbi Rosenthal pointed out, it would be time for motzi and for the meal. But here, they pour the second cup right away. Right, as soon as we say Kiddush, we fill the second.
But how does that get the child to?
Because it says, like, what's going on? You're pouring the second cup and we haven't eaten. I'm hungry. I mean,
Okay, I get it.
which,
You're expecting the child to understand that.
to observe that, yeah. Well, and
It's different.
well, I think what's comforting about it is that kids haven't changed in 2,000 years, because our question when I was younger was always, when are we going to eat? And apparently, in the Mishnah, that's the kids.
I will throw up one nice idea.
Right.
It's a nice idea that the Seder celebrates freedom, our freedom. And when you're free, your cup overflows with blessings. So that we should keep the cup full.
Full. I like it. It's clear. That's why we don't leave it empty.
Right, exactly, yeah. You drank the first cup, fill it up right away.
I love that. It's a great answer. So we need to have a kos shel bracha. That's malay, right? That's full. Beautiful. And now let's daven Mariv. And we can, actually won't change that much, just we can't say Morris Kaddish, right? Oh, look, we're on the right page even. How considerate. So page 137, but we begin, we don't have to stand because we're not doing the Baruch Hu. Hurach mekapevam v'le'ashchit, v'hir bala shiva povele kachamato, anay hoshea melech genenu v'yom korenu, baruch atanu, asher bivaram ariv aravim. El chai v'kayam, tamidim loch aleinu le'olam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim, havdalah m'shavotah. V'avatachat mimenu li'olamim, baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, mekneman, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Yadamo. Adonai Elohechem, emet v'yimel v'kam elenu. Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe v'nei Yisrael, lechan yishrabesim charaba v'yamru chulam, b'yikamocha ba'elim Adonai, b'yikamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lo tosef ele. Malchut haru v'necha b'keim lifnei Moshe zeili anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kifanai Yaakov v'golo mechazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael hashkivenu. Yashmin Ushmor Tzeitzenu Uvoin Eloheim Shalom Et Havdalah Baruch Atah Adonai Shomer Mo Yisrael Ad Baruch Adonai Le'olam Amen V'Amen. Yamalchut shachachi umayatim b'chavod ki en lamelech eliata baruch atah Adonai hamelech b'chvodot hamidim melech aleinu le'olam va'ed ve'al kol ma'asav. Yamidah 142 to 148 quietly, remembering to include the paragraph ending Shabbat. when we finish the Amidah, we continue on the bottom half of 158. Yiratzon, V'hinu Adonai Aleinu Aleinu, Maseh Yadenu Adonai Aleinu Aleinu, Maseh Yadenu Konanehu. Yivtuchu v'chayidei shemecha, ki lo zata doshak Adonai, nechletzei manchikto, yadil Torah v'yadir. Aleinu on page 163. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula leotzer breshit, shelo wasanu kegoyei haratzot, elo samanu k'mishpechot adama, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. כן, נקבל לכם להרמר בדבר זוכה לב. No, I'm not going to I'm not going to do the name. I am a small head. You come in. You have it up there. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
We're going to say the prayer in lieu of Mourner's Cottage. Does anyone else want a copy? I believe it's on page 30 in the Lev Shalom.
You can do it from up front and just read the art sites.
As we leave Shabbat and enter into the 6th of Nisan, we remember the following with love and affection: Karl Berkowitz, Grace Goldberg, Harold Leeper, Hershleib Zisman, Howard Pavane, Jack Siegel, Monira Samadi, Stuart Kruger, Harriet Meyerowitz, and Sidney Kurtzman. Additional names? Those who would like can join together in the prayer in place of Mourner's Kaddish. Ribono shel olam, Elohei haruchot lechol basar. Master of the world, God of the spirit of all flesh, it is revealed and known before you that it is our fervent desire to praise your name and to remember and honor our beloved. By reciting the Mourner's Kaddish in the company of a minyan, may our presence here today with our community find favor in your eyes and be accepted and received before you as if we had prayed the Kaddish. May your name, Adonai, be elevated and sanctified everywhere on earth, and may peace reign everywhere. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Praised be the name of the one whose glorious sovereignty is forever and ever. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen. Go on.
Okay, join us for Havdalah.
Yeah, let's Havdalah.
Eliyahu hanavi, Eliyahu hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, אליהו הגלעדי, במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו, עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא מיני וסמים, בורא מיני וסמים. לה 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 ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא מאורי האש, בורא מאורי האש. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המבדיל בין קודש לחול, בין אור לחושך, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המסכת.